And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to this event. I'm so excited you're here. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Ted McGrath here with us today. If you are somebody who wants to get booked on stages, booked on podcasts, if you want to launch your own live event, you're in the right place. Go ahead and drop in the chat where you're from. Say hello. We've got Michael Gripinskins. Ron, hello. Tell us where you're from. Ted, how are you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And I'm really excited because we've seen such tremendous results with the folks who have been following your system for getting booked. And I'm so excited that the folks here joining us today are get to learn that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share our slide deck so you can kick us off. Maybe you can begin by kind of telling us what separates speakers of today versus 10 years ago. Like what's happening now in speaking that folks who are on this call need to know and begin to execute on.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome, everybody. I see Lisa's there from Washington. We got Jacinta, we got Dorian, we got Nick. And today I'm going to talk to you about what it means to actually be a speaker in 2022 and coming up to 2023. So first, speaking today is online and it's in person. COVID changed that. So basically, speaking today has changed, right? COVID hit and a lot of businesses went online and a lot more people started to speak online, whether it's webinars like this, whether it's podcasts are big. So today people are getting booked on podcasts and people are doing virtual events. We've done ourselves probably in the last 24 months, we've done maybe like 10 virtual events. All of them making multi-six figures in income at each event. So online speaking today is very, very popular. But speaking in person today is extremely popular as well, like getting booked on stages and also leading your own in-person events. So how many of you, just by a show of hands, are kind of like, hey, I want to get out of the house and I'm interested in going to in-person events again? How many of you want to go to in-person live events again? Put it in the chat box, be like, that's me, right? Because I want to know, like, are you sick and tired of being stuck at home? One of the CEOs, the CEO of events.com, which is a very, very large, successful company, said that in 2022, 23, and 24, live in-person events will be the most attended that they've ever been in history because people are starving for in-person connection. Okay.
So is that why today, Ted, people should really be making sure that they're getting out to events and mingling, but also getting booked on podcasts, building up the momentum so that when people are hosting these events in 23, 24, they're ready. They have an audience. They're ready to rock.
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination of being at in-person events today and also speaking at in-person events today and getting booked at in-person events today and running your own in-person events today and also speaking online with podcasts, webinars, and virtual events. So That's what speaking is today, okay? So today I'm going to talk to you about how to get booked. If you're a speaker or an entrepreneur and you want to get booked on podcasts, stages, or virtual events, you're in the right place. I'm also going to talk to you about how to lead six-figure live events. We have a lot of customers that have come in and within 120 days of attending one of our seminars, they've gone out and led their own six-figure live events or virtual events. So I'm going to share with you some of those successes today. And then I'm also going to talk to you about, like, what is the secret, right, to do one thing and get two results. So if you could actually lead your own events, virtual or in person, and simultaneously get booked on other people's stages, how many of you would want that? Show of hands in the chat box. Just put, that's me, right? So if you could simultaneously, lead your own virtual or in-person events and get booked on other people's stages, podcasts, and webinars, who would want that? Put yes in the chat box if you're interested in that, okay? Or that's me. So we got that's me's coming in. We got Terry saying me. We got Steven saying that's me. We've got Cranford saying me. Michael saying yes. Isaac saying that's me. Great. Grant says, Ted, what did you learn from the Fringe Festival? Fringe Festival is a festival where I did my one-man play. I did 14 shows recently. I'll talk about that later, okay? But thanks for the question. So if you failed launching your own live or virtual events in the past, don't worry about it. We're going to remedy that today. If you're concerned that you can't make a living as a speaker, it's never been less true than today, because there's so many avenues to be a speaker today, guys. And if you've been unable to get booked on stages or podcasts or webinars, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today, okay? So Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote this book like 2 decades ago. It was called the 10,000 Hour Rule inside the book. And he basically said, you need to have 10,000 hours to master something. And my experience in speaking is you definitely do not need 10,000 hours to be a profitable speaker today. In fact, we've had many speakers with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 hours of speaking lead their own 6-figure live events and even sell from other people's stages. So the truth is, you just need to learn what the right system of speaking is going to be for you. And you need to learn from somebody who's actually done it. And if you learn from somebody who's done it, you cut out 90% of the learning curve, okay? So who is this webinar training for today? Number one, it's for you if you're an existing business owner. And by the way, Paolo, we are live. So Paolo, hey, Paolo, I'm calling your name right now. You said this is not live. We are live, my friend. So welcome to the training, okay? So existing, don't you like that, right? Boom, we are live, my friend, right? This is not one of those webinars where it's like, hey, pre-recorded, this is actually live. Ask me a question, you'll get an answer, okay? So existing business owners, if you want to add multi 6 or 7 figures to your business, this is definitely for you, okay? If you're a beginning speaker and you have a high drive to build a 6-figure speaking business, like you want to make 6 figures in the next 120 days, you're in the right place. And if you're advanced, okay, I'm going to teach you some advanced techniques today as well, because I can show advanced speakers how to add another $1 million to their business by some of the things I'll share today, okay? So, stay to the end. You're going to get myself from the stage masterclass, all right, my free bundle, okay? Now, if you think it's too good to be true to get booked on stages, podcasts, and webinars, and simultaneously lead your own live or virtual events, think again, because I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? So you might be wondering who I am. Some of you maybe just saw an ad and you popped on. You're like, who's this Ted McGrath guy? I've got a brand called Message to Millions, Speak to Millions, Good Enough. Bitcoin to Billions is another brand that we're rolling out. And I've done about 29 million in sales in approximately the last 3.5 years as a result of online marketing. I've sold $11 million from the stage in my career. And I did not start out as like a marketer or a guru sales guy. In fact, when I was 21 years old, I started in the insurance business. And my boss at the time, he looked at me at 21. He's like, I believe you can crack 6 figures your first year in this business. And I was young enough and I was dumb enough and I was green enough to believe him. I'm like, let's go crack 6 figures. And I went out and I put my head down and I worked really hard for 12 straight months. And 12 months later, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the kitchen floor after I just cracked 6 figures in income, and I'm overdosed from a bag of cocaine, 2 pops of ecstasy, 15 vodka sodas, and my soul coming out of my body. And I'm dying. And the next morning I was revived and I wake up and I'm like, well, money didn't do it. Money didn't make me happy. So like power and status will make me happy, and power and status will really work. And so I'm like, I'm going to make partner with this company. So I worked really hard for 5 straight years, and on June 30th, 2005, I got the news that I just became the number 5 partner out of 500 partners for the number 1 life insurance company in the country. And upon getting the news, I was like, is this really all there is to my life? And I resigned, and I was like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and I moved out to California, and I started up 2 businesses, and I got the $1 million condo and the $100,000 car. And within 9 months, I'm like, I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. My businesses were failing. I was still partying, blowing all my money. And, I'm sitting on my couch 9 months later with my face in my hands. My house is in foreclosure. My car's getting towed out of my driveway. My motorcycle that I'm paying $110 a month for is getting towed out of my driveway. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And that was the day I realized I want to be a speaker. And that's what I want to do for my career. And so I was like, I'm going to start up a seminar. And so I'm in California. I don't know anybody. I have no audience. I have no platform. I know like 1 person in the area. And so I'm like, I'm going to do a seminar. And I put it on, and like 2 people show up. And I end up selling one of them into my coaching program. And I was like, this is good. 1 out of 2, right? I was like, okay, all I need to do is get more people to this event. And if I get more people to this event, it'll be amazing, right? So I market for months and months at a time. And I put on another event and there's like 40 people show up. It's like a 4-hour event. And I make the offer from the stage. And out of like 40 or 50 people in the room, no one says yes, right? They reject my offer. And I feel like I'm getting shot by 50 machine guns, right? Like you're getting shot with rejection bullets. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh my God. It's the worst experience of my life. Nobody bought. I don't know if you've ever been on a stage where nobody buys from you. It's horrible, right? So I'm like, God, I don't really know my message. I don't really know like what's the right topic for me. I don't know how to make an offer from the stage. I could get better at storytelling. Like, so I was like, I need to get some coaching. And so I started to attend lots of live events and I started to learn. I started to watch how people made offers and I started to study like, okay, what's a good message? And so I put my head down again. I was like, and like months and months later, I'm like, I'm going to put on a big seminar and I would go to live events and I would invite people to my seminars and I would set up my own networking groups and I would invite people to my networking groups. And then I would market my seminar. I give away free tickets. I get paid tickets, whatever it took to fill the room. And then months and months later, I get 83 people in the seminar room and I get up on stage over the course of 3 days and I deliver my talk and I make an offer from the stage of like $25,000 offer and I make $100,000 from the stage in the weekend. And I'm like, yes, I am officially a successful speaker. I put on my first 6-figure live event. And then one thing happened that was amazing. The moment I put on a seminar where I started having success, all kinds of speakers that I would meet at events that I would travel to wanted to be on my stage. And what I realized is the moment I put on a live event, okay, this could be a live event that you're leading or a virtual event. The moment I put on one of these events, I could go talk to any speaker and be like, do you want to be on my stage? And they'd be like, yeah. I was like, well, if I put you on my stage, will you put me on your stage? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, how big's your stage? It's like, my stage is 83 people now, you know? And they'd be like, well, yeah, my stage, someone would be like, my stage is 120. I'm like, great, can we do it? And we'd swap out stages. And so every time I put on a live event, I want you to get this, guys. This is the first strategy. Every time I put on a live event, I automatically got booked on 3 other stages. Is this amazing? Every time I put on a live event, I automatically got booked on 3 other stages. Because I would say, come speak on my event. And I'll speak on yours. Come speak on my event. I'll speak on yours. Come speak on my event. I'll speak on yours. And I got booked. And I started getting booked on like 12 to 15 stages a year. And I was getting on stages and like, I was getting good. I was like, yeah, my one stage I was on, my closing rate from the stage was 63% of the room. And then another stage I got on, I was like, I'm going to make an offer. And I made an offer of $100,000 from the stage. And somebody in a 90-minute talk, somebody took me up on my $100,000 offer. And I just started going for it. And I realized that being a speaker creates instant authority. Nothing else in business that I've seen creates more authority than being a speaker. So it's instant authority. And I was like, this is amazing, right? And so I kept putting on live events, I got to 7 figures. And then I discovered something. I realized that I could build a 7-figure business speaking, and I was getting booked on 100-person stages, 600-person stages, and I was like, but it's still limited. And so at that time, I decided I was going to learn marketing. I was a non-marketer going to learn marketing, and I went out and I started learning. I felt like the dumbest person in the room, but then I learned it. And when I did one of my first launches online, I did $1 million, $1.3 million in 45 days. And then I decided, well, this is limited too. I need to do advertising. I learned to put $1 in advertising to make $4, $5, $6, $7 back on my dollar. And I realized, wow, I've cracked the code. Because I love to speak, marketing will be my dream machine. Marketing is a dream machine. Marketing supports your desire and your love for speaking or whatever your dream is. Marketing is the dream that makes that come true. And then I discovered, wow, I'm a speaker who knows how to market. And then I started to get calls from like, if I mentioned the name, you'd know it's one of the most iconic speakers of all time. And I would get calls, hey, can you meet with me and teach me how you're doing online, what you're doing online? And I realized I'm a speaker and a marketer, and most speakers are not marketers. And then, of course, I became a performer too, and I created a one-man play on my life story, and I play 12 different characters from the stage. I'll be performing this at Speak to Millions this year, my 4-day in-person event. I just got back from Scotland where I did 14 shows. I'm turning it into a feature film, and I'm like, I'm a speaker, I'm a marketer, and I have my other dream of acting that's coming true. And I was like, wow, I could do all of this because I understand marketing as a speaker. And that's what I want you to understand as well. So I made a decision to change my life, and I discovered a foolproof system that allowed me to get booked on other people's stages and make 6 figures on my live events. And you're like, how does this apply to me, Ted? Well, I'll tell you, we started doing this and testing it with other people. And we discovered that people who decide to be speakers exponentially get more results than anybody else. So David Mailer came to me, and at the time he was a chiropractor, and he said, Ted, I want to be a speaker. And he came to one of my in-person live events, because this is where the magic happens. It comes in person at live events. You need to be at live events, guys. And what happened was David was there, and he's like, I want to be part of your program. And he joined my program. And he says, okay, Ted, this is what I do. And as he started to explain what he did, it was like UFOs were flying over his head. I was like, dude, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, it's so confusing. I said, who is your perfect client? He goes, I want to work with men. I said, great. What age group? He says 40 to 65. I said, no, what age actually do you want them? He said 45. I said, great. I said, what's the outcome you want men to get? Like, what is the outcome you want men to get when they work with you? He says, I want them to have more passion and more power. I want them to be lit up. I said, great. Your brand is going to be called Man on Fire. And then he went on, he put on his first seminar, and he got 22 people to show up in the room. Now, here was a guy who was working in his chiropractor business for 20 years. And he got 22 people to show up in the room at his event, and he made $142,000 in sales, and he never looked back. And, that year he made $500,000 as a result of working with us. And today he's got a $4 million a year business with seminars, and he's got a marketing machine that we helped him with. So if David could do it, and when I would mention marketing, David would just start screaming. He'd be like, funnels, I hate funnels. He hated funnels. And if David could do it, what do you think you could do? So today I'm going to talk to you about how to create 6-figure live events. I'm going to talk to you about how to captivate your audience. I'm going to talk to you how to get booked on podcast stages and webinars. So how do you create a 6-figure live event in the next 90 to 120 days? Some of you are like, I need to have 50 to 100 people in the room like you do, Ted. And actually you need 10. Like, any one of you can put 10 people in the room. Ideally, let's get 20. If you got 10, it would be a huge success. Alex Moscow came to me. He used to come to my events all the time, and he would help with my events. He was a great help to me in my life. Great kid. And he came to me and he said, Ted, I don't know what I want to do. I said, I think you do know what you want to do. He goes, what do I want to do? I said, I can't tell you what you want to do. He says, but tell me what I want to do, since you know what I want to do. I said, I can't tell you what you want to do. You need to know what you want to do. He goes, I don't know what I want to do. I said, I think you know what you want to do. I said, spit it out. He goes, I want to be a speaker. But I stutter. And I said, okay, well, get up on stage and tell your life story and tell people about your stutter. And he got a stutter at like 6 years old, and he told a story about it. And I said, when you tell a story about your stutter, other people will get up on stage. Other people will listen to your story while you're up on stage, and they'll realize, wow, this guy's transparent and he's honest and he's authentic. And then what will happen is your attention will go off your stutter, theirs will go off your stutter, and then you'll speak more clearly. And Alex did this, and with 10 people in the room, he made $71,000 in sales, and he was teaching people sales. 24, he learned sales, and he was teaching people sales. So the first thing to do if you want to put on a live event is, most of you, I guarantee, are not leveraging your warm network. And you hear this idea and you're like, warm network, I want to do stuff online, but like, you have gold in your warm network, and most of you don't know how to approach your warm network, and you don't know how to grow referrals, and you don't know how to take a list of 20 and turn it into 100. And it's something I've done my entire career for the last 2 decades, and there's gold in your network, and you're not tapping into it. And every single one of these people that came to me, like Alex and David and Brandon, all of them, did not know whether their network would buy from them at all, or did not know whether their network could help them. And every single one of them, it helped them. And it helped them put on $70,000 events, $100,000 events, $200,000 events over and over again. Samantha came to me. She had 0 people on social media. She'd never sold a program in her life. And she was scared to sell a $5,000 program. And she did a virtual event. Mel, a warm network, by the way, is like your close relationships that are connected to you at work. There are people that are connected to you at social events, charity events, friends of yours, people that you meet at networking events. They're just like people in your vicinity. Okay. So that answers Mel's question. By the way, we are live, guys. Okay. So Samantha, she actually was like, I want to create a program. And we helped her create her first $5,000 coaching program. She's in finance. That's her business. And she was afraid to sell a $5,000 program. And don't worry, this is normal because almost everybody that comes to us, we help them double their pricing. They're like, nobody would pay for that. And invariably people pay it. And she decided she was going to build up her social media following. She went from 0 followers to 2,000 in the course of like several months. And then she did an event on Thanksgiving. And she made a special offer, and she did a virtual event, and she had 51 people buy her $5,000 program. And she made $255,000 in sales in an afternoon. She never sold anything before in terms of her coaching program. Pretty amazing, right? So what could you do? Doesn't matter. David was in chiropractic and wellness. Alex was in sales. Samantha was in finance. I'm going to talk to you about a pastor in a minute. You're like, this works for most of the people we talk to. So what did they do differently that most people don't? They sold high ticket consulting or coaching. Okay. And this is really important for you guys to get. You need to sell high ticket coaching and consulting, meaning it's one of the easiest things to get up on stage and sell if you're leading your own live events. And most entrepreneurs and speakers discount their value. So if I say, what's the pricing of your program? People are like, it's $2,500. I'm like, no, step one of your program, I could easily make a case for that it's $2,500. Like all the things I'm teaching right now, if I just showed somebody how to get booked on a stage, getting booked on a stage would easily, for the most beginner person be worth like $4,000 or $5,000. So just one step in what I teach is worth $4,000 or $5,000 to a beginner, and it's worth $50,000 to $500,000 to $5 million to an advanced person. Okay. So when you're pricing out your programs, you need to look at the outcomes you're delivering, and you need to stop discounting your pricing. And every single one of these people did not have a high ticket program because they didn't believe that they could sell a high ticket program until they coached with us. Okay. So now you're coaching with me through a group right now, and I'm telling you, you can sell a high ticket program. Okay. So create high ticket coaching and consulting packages. And the next thing is when you put on this first live event, right, that you're going to put on. And by the way, some of you might be like, Ted, I don't want to lead a live event. Like, no problem. Like, we'll teach you how to get booked. That's coming up soon. Okay. And so live events are great leverage because you heard what I said. The moment I put on a live event, guess what? I could get booked on other stages. So every live event I lead, I can get booked on 3 other person stages. Then I realized, I lead trainings like this, webinar trainings. So a friend of mine, we're just texting yesterday, like, hey, I'm going to promote you to my audience. You promote me to your audience. So I'm getting booked on his webinar and he's getting booked on my webinar. See how this works? Podcast. I was just on a podcast the other day. I got 18,000 listens in 24 hours. Friends of mine were texting me being like, hey, I saw your podcast. People I hadn't heard from in 4 to 5 years. Right. And so I got put on the podcast. I'm like, hey, come on my podcast. So I'm swapping podcasts. I'm swapping webinars. I'm swapping stages. Like, this is the goods, guys. Imagine like in your business, if you could swap webinars, swap podcasts, and swap in-person stages, like how big would your business grow? It'd grow phenomenally. Okay. So use live events as leverage to get booked. Okay. This is huge. Create your own event. Do you want to do a virtual event? Do you want to do a live event? Do you want to do a podcast? Do you want to do a webinar? Do something online and swap it out with somebody else to get booked. Now you might be going, Ted, I don't know where to go to get booked. I'm going to solve all your problems. You need to be at my in-person 4-day live event because there's hundreds of people that are going to be that are speakers, and we're arranging groups where you all get booked. And we're rolling out a new technology, which is a podcasting platform where it's a platform that exists to book people on other people's podcasts. It's a totally new software company that I'm developing, and we are rolling that out at the live event as well. So there are some exciting things happening, my friends, right? And most of you are sitting here in front of a computer going, how do I get booked? Where do I find people? You need to be at live events, guys. And that's one of the key places where you get booked. I can go to a live event, fill my seminars, walk away with several strategic partners, and get booked on 5, 6, 7 stages or podcasts or webinars. Okay. What do you think you could do? Okay. I'm going to teach you all of it. Second thing you need to know is how to captivate your audience. Okay. Captivating your audience is huge, guys. Stage fright is a thing that we tend to run into. When I was 22 years old, I got up on stage in front of like 10 CPAs, certified public accountants. And I walked up on stage and I memorized my entire talk because at 22, what do you really know? You don't really know anything. You kind of memorize stuff, right? So I memorized this talk, right? And I get up there and I start delivering the speech, and I'm like 2 minutes in, I like go completely blank. Like I forget my lines completely. And because I memorized the talk, I can't ever remember the next word, like the or a or n or and the harder I try, the worse it gets, and 2 beads of sweat start coming down my forehead. And then the sweat literally starts like seeping out of my shirt, and I take off my black blazer, and there's like this light blue dress shirt that I have on, and there's beads of sweat going down. And within 2 to 3 minutes, the entire shirt was drenched, waterlogged, soaked. And then I do the smartest thing you could ever do if you ever get in this situation. I decide that I'm going to go take a seat in the front row of the audience. And I'm sitting down with the audience members in the front row, and we're watching nobody on the freaking stage. I'm like, this is the most embarrassing moment of my entire life. And 30 to 40 seconds later, which seemed like an eternity, I'm like, I'm going to get back up there. And I walk back up on stage, and I finish the talk, and I deliver the worst speech ever in the history of speaking. And I walked out of that day, and I got in the car with my boss, and the whole way home I said nothing, not a word. And in my head, I'm like, I'm never speaking again. I'm never speaking again. I give up. I'm never going to do this again. This is terrible. And then finally, I'm like, I'm going to redeem myself. And several months later, I put on a seminar in the financial business. A bunch of people showed up. I invited a couple people from that CPA firm. And I got back up there and I nailed the talk and I redeemed myself. And that's the thing that actually helped me crack 6 figures at 22 years old. And a speaker was born. So, stage fright, don't worry about it. I froze, right? And the key to getting rid of stage fright is knowing your topic. Don't memorize, you need to know your topic, okay? And the second thing is you need to actually get crystal clear on your story. And there's a key component to storytelling. People ask me all the time, hey, am I on track with my story? And they go, Ted, I've got so many stories, I don't know which one to pick. Or they're like, I have a story and I don't know where to start. And I'm going to solve all your problems right now. So in telling a story, there's 2 components that you must have. Write this down, okay? Component number 1 in storytelling is you must know the pit. What is your pit moment? What is your pit moment, right? So there is a pit moment, which is a down and out moment. It's a moment of loss. And it's a moment where like you're down and out in your life and like you're in the pit, the dragon's breathing down your throat, the fire is melting you away. You're like, how am I ever going to get out of this situation? This is terrible, terrible, terrible. And then you pull yourself out and you go on the search and you go on a search and you find the answers and back down in the pit. And then you get close to the answer again and back down in the pit. And you get close to the answer again and back down in the pit. And then one day you have a breakthrough. And the breakthrough is a moment of realization. It's a moment of change. And after that moment of realization, results come, results come, results come. So it's a pit, which is a low, to a breakthrough, which is high. And after the breakthrough, you share your results. So rather than getting up on stage and telling a story about like, look how great I am, you need to talk about the pit moments in your life before you talk about your greatness. And that's the key to telling a compelling story, lows and highs. You see? I know something about this because I wrote a one-man play on my life story. I do a 65-minute stage play from the stage. I'm going to do it at Speak to Millions, which is our 4-day in-person event coming up. And I'm going to perform it for you guys who are coming. And I just did it in Scotland for 14 days. So doing a stage play for 65 minutes where I play 12 characters, you have to know something about story to captivate an audience. And I know all about the peaks and the valleys and the peaks and the valleys and the peaks and the valleys and how to engage an audience. And storytelling captivates your audience while sending a message where the customer goes, I can do this too. Or the customer goes, God, I've been stuck in this problem. Can you help me get out of it? That is one of the purposes of storytelling. And step number 3, to captivate an audience or to engage an audience or to help an audience, you must be able to pitch from the stage. So why don't speakers make a living? Why don't they become successful? Because they don't know how to sell, right? So if they don't know how to sell from the stage, like, do you know how to sell from a webinar like this? Do you know how to sell from the stage? Do you know how to make an offer from a podcast? Do you know how to make an offer on the phone one-on-one? You know? And it's like, if you don't know how to make the offer, and I'll tell you one thing, there's this key moment in any offer, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's from the stage, where you hit this level of resistance. And most speakers think that level of resistance is the time to spring back. And what you're really running into is you're running into the reactivity of the entire audience and your own reactivity and the pushback of like, I can't do this. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. And what you need to do is actually just kind of disintegrate the resistance and continue to go into the offer and go right through it. And all of a sudden, boom, this portal opens up and all of a sudden people are ready to receive what you have to say. But most speakers, when they make an offer, they make one offer and then they're like, nobody bought, and they stop. Most people on the phone, when they try to close, they make one offer and somebody gives a rejection and they stop. The moment I get a rejection on the phone, in fact, I just did this with somebody. It was like a little bit of pushback. I was like, and you could hear like from the person. And that's when I smile because I know that's not them. I know underneath that is a deep desire that I want to do this thing. So I just smile and I go, hey, do you want help? Yeah, but I'm this. Yeah, but do you want help? Yeah, let me help you. Disintegration. Now we're into the offer. So it's getting your audience to a place to where they're ready to receive help. And it doesn't happen at the first offer. The first offer gets the quick start. So the people are like, I'm ready. I want to do this thing. Like there's some of you right now, as I'm talking about my live event, my in-person live event, who know you want to be speakers. You're like, I'm coming to this event. There's many of you on here already registered for an in-person live event, right? So some of you are like jumpstart and you're in. And then there's others who are like, we're in the reactivity phase. And so you just need to continue to make the offer and you need to continue to educate people and you need to enlighten them on why they need to come do your thing because a customer needs to be educated and enlightened before they actually buy. So making a pitch is all about that, you see? So secret number 3 is how to get booked, okay? And how to get booked is all about getting booked on podcast stages and webinars. Now, here's an interesting thing. Here's the 4 ways to get booked, and now I'm going to hide it, okay? Because I'm going to tell you the story that's going to explain the exact 4 ways, and you're going to watch it. So I met this woman. She was on Oprah twice. Her name was Marsha Weeder, and I was helping her at a seminar. And she's like, "Wow, you're really good at helping with messaging." I said, "Yeah, let me come to your office next week, and I'll help you more." So I go to her office in Los Angeles. I start helping her on her messaging, and she pulls up her computer screen, and she's like, "Here's my live event that's coming up." She got like 15 speakers. I'm like, "Wow, that's a lot of speakers." And then I get over to like the 13th, 14th, 15th box. And I'm like, what's up with 13, 14, and 15? There's like black boxes. She goes, I don't have speakers for that yet. I was like, ah. And then I ask her the $1 million question. Write this down, my friends. Write this down, okay? Thanks, Graham. I appreciate the feedback. So the $1 million question is this. How many people do I need to put in your seminar room to get booked on your stage? So I turn to Marsha when she goes, we don't have speakers for those slots yet. And I go, Marsha, how many people do I need to put in your seminar room to get booked on your stage? And she goes, what would you speak on? Which is bullet point number 1 here, which is highly compelling topic. Bullet point 1, write it down. Highly compelling topic. Highly compelling topic. I'm taking it away now. Okay. So highly compelling topic, right? And so I'm like, I would speak on this. She goes, I go, I would speak on this. She goes, we got somebody for that. I go, I would speak on this. She goes, that might work. So now I'm in the door. I got a topic that's a fit, right? Then the second thing is I'm helping her, right, on her messaging. So I'm using my skill set to help her, right? So she goes, okay, well, that topic's interesting. She goes, let me think about it. I said, okay. So I keep helping her, right? Give my skill set, which is point number 2 right here. What's point number 2? Your skill set, your skill set, your skill set. So I keep helping her with my skill set of messaging. I help with my skill set of messaging. And she's like, this was amazing. I go, thanks. And we were walking out to my car at the end of the night. And I look at her and I go, what do you think? And she goes, what do I think about what? And I go, what do you think about how many people do I need to put in your seminar room to get booked on your stage? And she goes, and I go, well, if I put 12 people in your room, 12 of my VIP clients, would you book me on your stage? She goes, 12 VIP clients? I go, yeah, I'll have them all registered within 24 hours. She goes, done. And she books me on a stage with 600 people. And I'm like, oh my God, I just got booked on a stage with 600 people. It's like amazing, right? And what did I do specifically, guys? 1, I had a topic that was compelling. Number 2, I used my skill set to help her message. Number 3, I sent referrals to her event. 1, 2, 3. And she booked me on a stage. I didn't even have to put her on my stage to get booked. In exchange, because she was such an abundance of exchange with me, I'm like, listen, I'm going to put you on my stage. There'll be like maybe 70, 80, 100 people there. But she put me on a 600-person stage. And I got up on that stage and everybody there was teaching really great content. And I said, I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to tell a really great story and then I'm going to teach content. And I got off the stage in front of 600 people and she, the host of the event, came running up to me. She goes, wow, that was an amazing story. And I said, thank you. I'm turning it into a one-man play. Remember, you decide and then you communicate it. So I told her this and she goes, I have the perfect director for you. She introduced me to my director and he was the first director of my one-man play. I flew out to London to go write my one-man play with him. I watched his play for 2 weeks straight at night as he performed it. And when 2 weeks later, I had a play that was written. And my one-man play was born. And 6 months later, I performed the one-man play in front of 183 people. And you might go, Ted, how did you go to London and still fill your seminars? When I went to London, I launched a marketing machine that filled my seminars on autopilot. So what did I learn, guys? I learned that you need to, one, have a topic to get booked. Number two, you need to use your skill set. Number three, you need to send referrals to people's events. But number four, sometimes you just need to say, fuck it. And you need to make a decision and get outside your comfort zone. And if you're sitting there and you're like not making the decisions you need to grow your business right now, you need to take extreme action right now and actually do something about it. Because playing it safe and playing in your comfort zone never actually works, my friends. Okay? So this was a game changer for me. And then I went and I started teaching other people. And Josh Clark, at his first event, he made $120,000 in sales. He was a pastor and he had 20 people in the room. Okay? Brandon Hawk never sold a thing in his life. He was making $60,000 a year as a pastor. We invited 42 people to his first event. He did $259,000 in sales. He said, Ted, these people all know me as a pastor. How am I ever going to sell anything from the stage? He got up there, $259,000 in sales. Okay. Within 30 days of Brandon leaving my in-person seminar that I'm inviting you to, he did $59,000 in sales in 30 days after leaving the seminar. What could you do? If you're not getting the results, it's time to make a different decision, my friend.